Welcome, Drake Powe.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm absolutely thrilled to be here. I'm going to ring the bell, as those who come see me regularly will see me do. I'm going to ring the bell. I'm going to ask you to listen carefully. The bell is about waking up, so here we go. I would ask you all to take a nice deep breath in and make the ah sound. Ah. Wow, that was awesome. Thank you. So I'm really excited to be here with you today because I'm really excited about talking about what we value. What we value. There's a line from a Bob Marley song. It says, "We could not live in that negative way, make way for the positive day." Why not help each other on the way, make it much easier? So to me, this is a speaking to value. And I'm here to talk about value here today. This is a really important conversation for me. I'm going to talk about my essential values and why it's important to make contact with your essential values each and every day of your life. A week ago today, my Aunt Janice passed away. And she was a very important person to me. I was in her wedding. I was the ring bearer. I was much smaller at that time. My uncle Edward, was the person who introduced me to comic books. And in this introduction to comic books, in reading these comic books, very quickly they moved away. So I was like 4 or 5 years old. And they began this process, this long-term process of reading, of studying. I went from comic books to science fiction, from science fiction to fantasy, and from fantasy to philosophy. So this was the process of my life. So I want to bring this up because I really want to work at creating an energetic field here together today. When I was in probably about 1974, I read a book called The Hundredth Monkey. Is anyone familiar with that book? Yeah. It's an interesting book. It was telling a story about how they were training these monkeys on an island in the Pacific to gather food in a certain way. And pretty quickly, all the monkeys on this island began to gather food in the same process. So much so that they began to teach each other how to do the same gathering. Apparently, on an island close by, another island, at that point there was a critical mass, and suddenly the animals on that island also began to alter the way they gathered food and began to change it. There was some sort of field in which a method was transposed. And so I would like to suggest to you that this is the same thing that we can do. If you are connected to your values and living from your values, you help to connect with that deeper consciousness that we're all a part of and spread that. It's an energetic field. So my values are kindness, compassion, joy, and positive indifference. And what I would like to suggest is when you have these positive values, they lead into each other. You help to create the world by what you actively value. So what I'm talking about is valuing and then radiating outward. To me, these values like kindness and compassion are completely linked to each other. What you value begins to change you. So to me, when we take on values like compassion, what we find out is that it begins to protect us. Our compassion is part of what protects us in the world, our kindness. By having a commitment to compassion and kindness, we help to create the world that we want to live in. Isn't that the way that it should be? Don't you want a world of kindness? We have to dedicate ourselves to it regardless of what we find other people doing. What we find is that people will tell you what they're really into. The word addiction originally meant religious zealotry. Religious zealotry. Okay? So an addiction is something that you would be worshiping, putting all things behind it. So I would suggest that we all have some addictive processes, but why not be addicted to things that make the world a better place? Why not be addicted to something that radiates a shining joy outward into the world? We can make a difference. This is what we're here to do. If you know someone, say, who is a gun owner, no matter where you stand on the gun debate, I would suggest that you want someone who has a gun to be a responsible gun owner, right? If they're on the highway, you don't want them pointing their gun at someone or threatening to shoot someone. What I'm suggesting is what we value is just that important. When you value hatred, every morning when you value judgment, you get up every single day and intensify your commitment to that. When you value judgment, you're shining it around everywhere you go, and you don't realize that what you're doing is incredibly powerful. So this is really about a question about what you want in your world, what you value. What you value, you make real. What you value, you make real. You are the single most important person in the entire world. In your world, it's certainly true. So let's dedicate ourselves to that. What are some of the advantages of compassion? What are the advantages to kindness? When we have this spirit of compassion, what we end up doing is finding something that connects us to everyone, everywhere we go. There's something about compassion that ennobles us, something that stands up to the highest standards of what it means to be human. So we find compassion by finding authenticity. If you are authentic, you will be compassionate. You find compassion through finding kindness, by recognizing that no matter who you're dealing with or what they have done, they still deserve your compassion. It's a way of making the world what it actually is, which is one whole. So subtlety is the path to kindness and compassion. By being in contact with the subtle, we find that compassion is natural to us. It's part of who we actually already are. We have to train ourselves to not be compassionate. We have to accept the conditioning that separates the world from us. So I'm curious, I want to check in with you, and then I want to do some practices that help to promote compassion. But what I want to ask you, what is compassion? Why is it important? And do you dedicate yourself on a regular basis to it? So anyone, please, if you could give me a response on that. Why is compassion important in your life? Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
Having empathy and an ability to connect out with people.
That's right. Having empathy, an ability to connect with other people. What we find out is that the ability to have empathy is connected with our own experience of having felt pain. You know, there's a great teacher who says that empathy, this ability to change the world, comes to you through the pain that you've experienced. So part of having compassion is not trying to be contracted away from our pain. So that's a great one. Any other advantages to being compassionate? Yes?
Helping others realize their own innate value.
Beautiful. She said helping others realize their own innate value. I would agree with that. I would say that for me, it's good for me to understand the difference between help and support, because support is having faith in that person. So we want to recognize that ability to support people in that way. Thank you. Yes?
But it seems like compassion works both ways. If I can recognize and feel someone else's experience, it also validates my own experience.
That's right. It works both ways. So what we find out is compassion is actually nutritional, right? So there's something about the process of compassion that feeds us. Living with an open heart means that we live in a completely different way of moving through the world. Our ability to have compassion, our ability to have empathy, is our ability to put ourselves in that person's position and recognize that we're closer than we might think. Thank you very much. Does anyone else have anything else they want to say about this before we step into it? Yes?
I think compassion is just accepting other people the way they are and where they are. And then when I do that, I can accept myself.
Right. So she said accepting people for where they are and who they are. So that relates to this idea of Wu Wei. You know, from Taoism, Wu Wei, to be like water. It also means effortless effort. So when we step into that ability of accepting the people the way they are and the situation the way that it is, it changes our relationship to it. We don't feel like we have to be manipulating it. We've realized that when we can accept things as they are, we can actually find a process of getting through the challenge of it. So thank you very much. I saw your hand. Yes?
I think like this
Ex- Exactly. Not only do we have that right, but in living in that way, we find out that we are supportive of each other. There's something that in the whole process of being that we can gain from each other. We learn from each other, and so we have to step up and feel the urgency of this, right? I remember vaguely being the ring bearer in that wedding, and I remember being, having this sense of how big my life was, how enormous it was. I was there at that wedding. I was a small child, but I was like, wow, I'm never going to be this old. I remember another time when I was 18 years old, and I was thinking about how long it would be till I was 40, and I was very confident that it would be almost an infinite amount of time before I turned 40. And now I'm 56. So we really got to activate this, because it's important to die the way you want to live and live the way you want to die. So anyone else have anything they want to add before we begin and do a practice? Okay, so again, your ability to activate compassion is about your ability to intend where you want to go, as opposed to focusing on where you don't want to go. When you have compassion, there's certain elements that come with it. You know that it's important. You know that you're creating your environment. You know that you're able to be with people as they are and not force them to be the way you want them to be. And we find these things by connecting with subtlety. So let's do a little bit right now together. If you would, just stand up for a moment, right where you are. Feet are about hip width, active core, chest is up, let gravity take the head, and roll the head over towards the right side. Inhale down and roll the head over towards the left side. Inhale and exhale over to the right, nice and easy. Inhaling down and rolling left. Inhale and exhale. One more time to the right. Inhaling. Last time to the left. Inhaling down. Head up. Active core. Chest is up. Arms are hanging. Just bring the palms out and open up the chest. Inhale. Let the hands come back. Exhale. We're opening up the heart. Inhale. Last time. Exhale. Inhaling. Let's just go ahead and have a seat again. So we find that by opening up the heart, literally by opening up the heart, we also access our compassion. If you ask people all over the world to point to themselves, almost everywhere, all over the world, when they point to themselves, they point right here. Right? Right in the heart. Okay? So there's something to that that's telling you something. Very rarely do you go to a place in the world when you ask them to point to themselves where they go, yeah, I'm right here. Right? So the three areas that we center ourselves are in the gut, in the heart, and in the head. But the head is really about creating a world that follows what you focus on. We will work to create the world that we focus on. So let's focus in kindness, in subtlety. So if you would, you can do this either with your eyes open or closed. And just begin to slow down the breathing. Breathing nice and easily, breathing nice and easily. Be aware of the hara, an inch below the navel and a half an inch in. Be aware of the heart, and I'm not talking about the physical heart, I'm talking about the energetic heart, the one right in the middle of your chest. Just breathe into the heart. Relaxing the jaws and relaxing the center of the forehead. Let's take a nice deep breath in and make a nice yawn. Just feel that. With that nice big yawn, you've invited your jaws to relax. Breathing nice and easily, relaxing the jaws, and see how that affects your face. And see if you can relax the jaws and bring awareness right into the heart at the same time. Breathing into the heart and relaxing the jaws. See if you can relax the jaws and breathe into the heart. And in the back of your mind, breathe into whatever emotional experience you're having in the back of your mind right now. Breathe into it. And letting go. Breathing nice and easily. Feel yourself breathing into the emotion and into the heart at the same time. Breathing nice and easily. Breathing nice and easily, breathing into the heart. And just imagine yourself sitting where you are and see if you can remember people sitting around you. Breathing into the heart and being aware of your jaws and remembering people who are sitting around you. Let's bring in light from the top of our head and through our forehead, yellow light, and shine white light out into the room around you. See if you can surround someone here with that light. See their faces brightening. Breathing nice and easily, breathing that light in through the forehead and through the top of the head and shining white light out. Shine light around someone that you love, anyone at all. Breathing nice and easily, allowing it to be exactly as it is. Let's take a nice, easy breath in and sigh it out. And then, as you are ready, just opening your eyes and experiencing the world. So I would like to suggest to you that in doing simple exercises like this, we create a connection to compassion. We create a connection to allowing things to be as they are because we've created a connection to feeling safe. We have issues with compassion when we don't feel safe. So, can anyone tell me how that felt? Did that feel lightening to you at all? Anyone know? Let's express how that went for us. Sorry?
Warm.
Made you feel warm. Right. Anything else? Anything else that connection made you experience? And content? Beautiful. Yes? Comforting. So we're experiencing this warmth, this comfort. And what I'm suggesting is centering ourselves in it allows us to express compassion. We have to train ourselves to not be compassionate. Anyone else experience anything they'd like to share? Yes?
I felt that present right now.
Right. Right. Exactly. That's right. So compassion radiates from the moment and radiates outward. Compassion is like sunlight. It doesn't choose who to have compassion for. So being in that presence allows us to be with it. We have an authentic mirror, a cosmic mirror that is at the center of our state of being, awareness. Awareness does not choose who to shine on. Anyone else want to share about their experience? Yes, you were first, yes. Connected. Connected. This comes back to this idea of the 100th monkey. We are connected to each other. And you really have to understand how important and how valuable you are. When you realize that you're connected and how you feel matters, it changes the way you move in the world. We have to have an urgency for this. And the great thing about it is it's an urgency to feel good. What you feel spreads. So thank you. I saw you, yes? Forgiving. Forgiving. So compassion is not about not being willing to set limits. Having compassion does not mean we don't hold people responsible for their actions. But we have to understand that essentially being compassionate is for ourselves. It's not for the other person. Forgiveness is for ourselves because when we live with a closed heart, we begin to move through the world in judgment. So forgiveness is very important. If you expect, if you throw a rock into a molten hot fire, that rock is going to soak up the energy of the heat. Forgiveness is about understanding that no matter what a person does, they're not the beginning of the equation. It's called faultlessness. Recognizing that there's always something that happened before them that set that person up. Thank you very much. Does anyone else have anything else they'd like to share about that process? So I would like to suggest to you that practices like this help us to access our compassion. And you have to keep it alive. Keeping your compassion alive is incredibly important if you want to be a person who lives in a world that is not focused on hatred. And by focusing on what we intend and what we attend to, we create our own life. I love words. I love words. And I love reclaiming words that have been utilized in a way that it becomes destructive. So, for instance, the word sin originally was an archery term. It was about hitting the mark. So to sin was to miss the mark. It wasn't this negative, heavy thing that we see in the world. To repent meant to put animals in a safe place. A mistake was in measuring the parameters of a property if you hadn't staked it quite right. So this is all about clarity of vision and clarity about coming to who you want to be. That is the sin. So the sin is shaming, of judgment, of self-hatred. And essentially, when it gets right down to it, the sin of not having compassion for ourselves. Because essentially, that's what it comes down to, is having compassion for ourselves. So we want to focus our attention. Let's do a little bit more practice to connect with that. Let's do a little bit more practice to connect with that. So breathing nice and easily, I'm going to ask you to do what's called the 2 minutes of silence. So the very first thing I'm going to ask you to do is just to pay attention slowly and easily, noticing every detail you can for 2 minutes. So just pay attention. Notice every detail. You can do it with your eyes open or closed. Be aware of things that others will not notice today. Noticing details. Don't forget to notice yourself. Be aware of what emotions you're experiencing. Breathe into them. Noticing anything and everything. And focusing your attention just a little bit more. Be aware of your breath. Notice the breath coming in and out, and noticing any scent. Aware of taste. And notice the touch of your tongue. Be aware if your lips are in contact with each other. And be conscious of touch throughout your entire body, all the way through your hands and feet. Breathing slowly and easily, be aware of temperature. And be conscious of space. How much space do you have around you? Aware of rhythm. See if you can feel the rhythm of your heart. Conscious of sight. Even if you have your eyes closed, can you see colors? Listening carefully, hear every sound. Breathing nice and easily. Let's take a nice breath in and an easy sigh. Let the breathing come back to normal. And opening your eyes, if you have your eyes closed, and just take a look around. So when we do immersive practice, when we do practices like the ones that we just done, what we do is connect to compassion. Because compassion is part of who we authentically are. So when we really, really get present, we open a space to be aware of that presence of compassion that eventually ends up being the source of our own compassion. So, how did that go? How did that go? Can I ask you, how did that practice go for you? So we did a practice of paying attention, and then we focused it through the senses. How did that go for you? Mm-hmm. Beautiful. So it's really important for us to activate these practices just like this, because when we get out of the way, when we feel peace, we also connect to that feeling of connection with other human beings. Human beings who feel safe have no trouble with being compassionate. It's only when you don't feel safe that you have to access a lack of compassion. So, thank you so much. Anyone else want to share what they experienced in that? Did anyone feel a little bit less connected to the background of worry? See, elements like worry end up creating that lack of compassion. So we want to connect with it. We want to connect with it. We want to connect in a way that is committed to making it happen right here today, because if we don't make it happen, then we're letting the world become something other than what we like to create in it. We let the world become more focused on intolerance. Compassion is the process of tolerance. So it's very important for us to connect with it. It's very important for us to connect with it, that field of compassion. So it also happens when we access gratitude. Gratitude is one of the elements that connect us to compassion. So I feel so grateful to know these things. I'm grateful to know these things because I am committed, no matter what, no matter even if I make mistakes, I'm committed to connecting to that compassion. I feel gratitude because I know that we live in a world that has so many wonderful people in it. I feel grateful to know that even if I feel doubt or am stuck, that I can hang in there and that it will work out. These elements of gratitude, of realizing how many wonderful people in the world make a world of difference. They connect us to our compassion. So these are simple little exercises that help us to frame the world in a way that makes us feel like we're winning, instead of constantly getting up and finding the most negative thing that you can find in any given day. What are you grateful for? This frames things in a way in which we create a field that allows us to connect to caring. What are you grateful for? Can I ask you, what are you grateful for? Tell us 4 things you're grateful for. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Hmm. Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you. Someone else, if you could, tell us what you're grateful for. Anyone at all? Health? Who said that? Health? What else are you grateful for? Mm-hmm. Mm. Beautiful. Information. Mm-hmm. That's right, that access to information. And being able to access information that can change the world. If you change yourself, you change the world. So thank you very much. How about a couple more people? Let's create that field of gratitude. Yes, sir.
Seeing the sunrise this morning.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Beautiful. Creating that field of gratitude. Thank you very much, sir. Let's get a couple more people to tell us what they're grateful for. Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Is there a particular animal that you feel connected to in particular? Any type of animal?
Cats especially, but all animals.
Okay, beautiful. So this is one of the elements, by the way. She said, being in contact with animals. Knowing what your totem animals are part of the process of creating a relationship to being compassionate. Finding that animal that you feel connected to helps you to connect with a process of connecting with others. Let's do one more person. Tell us what you're grateful for. Thank you very much. Yes.
I have the opportunity to work with young people, and I'm just grateful that they are ready to receive many people, to just receive in the energy work, and that they're by nature contributing to the
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of young people.
So she's talking about young people and grace and that natural compassion. How about three more things? Tell us three more things you feel gratitude for.
I have a grandson,
Congratulations.
and I do healing work, so I'm grateful for the fact that I got connected with that. And I'm grateful for kind of how my life is.
Beautiful. So just feeling that, can you guys feel that? How that sharing of gratitude changes the entirety? It makes a difference. It makes a difference. Does anybody else have something they want to share before we move on? Yes.
I'm grateful for the rural area that I travel in between Northfield and here, and just that silence and the sky, and just the gratitude that it's not house, business, but it's that open space.
Beautiful. Beautiful. That open space. So, again, just being aware by activating this field, we change things. Can you tell us some other things that you feel grateful for?
Being here
Mm-hmm.
and having close connections with people that I can love out loud.
I love that, what she just said about loving out loud. And I don't really know you, but you have that presence that you carry with you. And so that's wonderful. Thank you. Does anyone else have anything they want to share before we do another practice? So one of the things I'm asking you to do in order to create this field of compassion is to start asking people what they're grateful for. Ask people. Share what you're grateful for. Have you noticed how focused we are in the negative lately? You guys didn't notice that? Well, there's a lot of people that are. And so by activating these processes, we find that gratitude helps open the heart and create that space for compassion. So I'm asking you to go home and write down what your values are. Remember, if it's valuable, you can take it with you. What are your values? Again, mine are joy, compassion, positive indifference, this feeling that no matter what happens, we got this, right? Joy, compassion, positive indifference. What's the last one? What's that? Kindness. Thank you. So let's feel that right now. Let's go ahead and do another practice right now. First of all, this is not an intention, it's not a hope. I intend compassion. I intend kindness. So let's do that right now. Intend it within yourself. Breathing now nice and easily. Find the breath coming in and out. And if you choose to, you can close your eyes. Compassion is about having enough space. When you have space, you have the room to be compassionate. Breathing nice and easily. Be aware of the space around you right here and now. Seeing yourselves from above. Be aware of all the people in this room right here, right now. Breathing nice and easily. You have so much space. See how much space is above the building. You know what the building looks like, the dome. Coming up higher still. See this whole part of the Minneapolis area. Seeing the lakes. Going further still, going up to that point where you're seeing this whole North American region. Breathing nice and easily, going further still, seeing the whole planet. Breathing nice and easily, higher still, looking at the solar system, see the sun and Jupiter. Going far enough to notice the Milky Way galaxy, and far enough to notice all the galaxies, all the size of stars. Breathing nice and easily, coming back home, coming back through the Milky Way, back through the solar system, seeing the planet Earth, and bringing yourself back into this room. Breathing nice and easily, and bringing awareness right into the heart, right at the center of the chest. And if you can, if it feels right to you, bring your hand right on that spot. Put your hand on your heart. And just begin to breathe into the heart. Breathing nice and easily. Breathing into the heart. Breathing into that pressure of the hand, breathing into the heart. Let's all do that. Take a nice breath in. You are safe. Let the hands fall back to the sides. And just feel that sense of safety. It's important. Breathing nice and easy. Let's go right into the calming breath. Breathing in, nice, easy breath. Pause at the top. Hold the breath. And then exhaling it out, nice and easy. Squeeze the stomach gently, and then inhale. Pause. Exhale it out. We're going to do 3 more breaths. Inhaling. Pause. Exhaling it out. Squeezing. Inhale. Pause. And exhaling it out. Squeezing the stomach. One more time. Inhale. Pause. Hold the breath. Exhaling it out. Let's take a deep breath in. Make the ah sound. Ah. And just be still for a moment. Just breathe. Eyes opening. Kindness and compassion are linked together. Just feel that open-heartedness. This is the space that connects us to our ability to have compassion. It happens through focus. It happens through intention. It happens through recognizing that it's one of your essential values. So, in the Magic City, that place of immersive practice, we recharge, and when we come back to the world, we find that we have a new access to compassion. Was that something that worked for you? Was that something that was easy or challenging for you? Your knee hurts? So were you feeling it? Was that knee sore while you were in that process? Could you feel your knee while you were in that breathing process? Pardon me? Yes, right. But it's still beautiful because in compassion, we have compassion for those pains as well. So thank you very much. Anyone else can express to us, how did that go for you? Alex, how did that go for you? Mm-hmm. So grounding and peacefulness help to open us to compassion. but it's something that we have to access. We want to understand that whatever we identify as in the background emotional state as ourself, some part of us is going to want to perpetuate. So we have to connect with the active desire to be compassionate. If we don't make it happen, it won't happen. Because we are too focused on the things that create charge in our life. Thank you. How about a couple more people, and then we'll try something else here. Anyone else have anything that they experienced in that process? Yes.
Maybe a little off the wall, but when I left yesterday, I saw my first Star Wars movie, which I found to be amazing. And when you talk about, having compassion and self-compassion, that movie I found to be really deep as far as things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what kept coming up for me.
Mm-hmm. See, the beauty of it is that if we're looking for it, we'll find it. If you're looking for those things that promote compassion, you'll find them. They're prevalent. And it really essentially comes down to defining the world that we live in. If you live in a world that creates a connection to compassion, it's a very different experience than living in a world that really is connected to cutting off kindness. So when we look for it, it's there everywhere we look, and supportive everywhere we look. Thank you very much. So we want to recognize this. It's important to look for it. Get excited about it. Get inspired. Get inspired to be kind. Get inspired to be compassionate. Realize that you're making a difference in that process. When you're looking for it, you're promoting it. So thank you very much. Okay? So we want to create what we value. So every day, connect with your values. Write your values down. What you find valuable is what you're committed to. Are you committed to compassion? Activate it every single day. And do it by recognizing, by letting go of the charges that we're faced with. We automatically are drawn to it. But it doesn't happen unless we ring the bell and wake ourselves up to it. So, all right, any questions or statements? Let's do one more practice here today. All right, so breathing nice and easily. And recognize we did a series of practices last time. We did the calming breath, and those calming breaths help to connect us to that. It helps us connect us to that open-heartedness. So let's take the right hand, fold the 3 fingers in, bring it around, breathe in with both nostrils, and block off the left nostril and slowly exhale out the right nostril. Breathe in the right nostril, slowly and fully, and exhale out the left nostril. And just do this back and forth, going back and forth with the breath. Take your time. It should be such a fine breath that you barely even feel it. Nice and easy. Finally, breathing in the left nostril and exhaling out the right. Breathing in the right nostril and slowly exhaling out the left. Let him go, both nostrils. Take a deep breath in, both nostrils, and make the ah sound. And just be still for a moment. Feel the aftermath, the space behind the breath. And just notice the spaciousness, breathing into it. Breathing into it. Feeling that breath, opening the eyes, and just take a look around. See the people around you. So in the final process here today, I really want to take a moment to ask you guys, what are some of the things that you feel that compassion brings to the world? What does compassion bring to the world? Why is it important for you to be compassionate? Yes? Love. Okay, just one second. So she says love. Compassion is the spirit of love. And I would suggest to you that ultimately compassion is the spirit of unconditional love, that experience of being I am. So by connecting with that expression I am, you actually connect with unconditional love and bring yourself closer to that compassion. So thank you. How about yourself? Gentleness. Right. To be gentle. Right? To be gentle is to be compassionate. And in order to be gentle, we have to be paying attention to the individual that we are with. We cannot be compassionate and objectify an individual at the same time. Okay, thank you. Yes. Okay, understanding. Okay, this gentleman back here, yes. Possibility. Mm-hmm, an openness. Yes. Yes, you. To see and hear more clearly. Have any of you guys seen those hypnotist shows where they'll put a bunch of people under and then they may think they're on an airplane or something like that? This is what the world does to us. We get it mesmerized. Okay? We do not act without compassion unless we are asleep. So that clarity. Thank you. Compassion, please share. What does it mean? Harmony. Harmony and synergy. Beautiful. Keep it going. Yes, what does compassion mean? Connecting. And to me, connecting is not always meaning that you are that happy about what you're connecting with. Yeah? I mean, we have to bring ourselves together. That means connecting sometimes with people that are challenging or situations that are challenging. You know, this compassion, by the way, it's not just about the compassion that we have for dealing with things in our life. It's also about dealing with the things that come with aging. Compassion is part of that as well. Thank you. Yes. Mercy. She says mercy. By the way, mercy is a very interesting word because it actually points to having the ability to pass judgment. So mercy is letting go of judgment. So thank you. Yes. She said it's about other as opposed to self. And I have a slightly different perception because I feel that really who we are at the very center of our being is that compassion. And we are radiating it out of our heart. That's my perception. So to me, that it has to come from us first before. It's like when the mask drops down, you know, when you're on the airplane. So we have to experience it in order to be connected to it, you know. Yes.
I agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
Except you forget about that when you're compassionate about another person. It's instilled, like you said.
Yes. Yes, thank you very much. How about, yes?
For me, part of it's the recognition we're all walking the same path and struggle for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Myself in their shoes as well.
Yes, it's a struggle. This life is tough. And anyone who doesn't get themselves confused and make some mistakes, well, you must have had some great, I don't know, man, because as far as I know, all human beings make mistakes. This is a hard road. And compassion is realizing that. It's not just about having compassion for people that you like. So, yes. The ability to stay present and hold this space. And not to collapse into what we have in the back of our mind. You know, like our whoopee, you know, our little, you know, thing that we like. I want to have compassion for everything about with this hidden subject. It's about letting go. You remember that letting go, releasing, is about ownership of self. So thank you. Yes? Shared meaningful energy. For me, that's another way of saying joy, because to me, joy is shared meaningful energy. And so being compassionate promotes that. It promotes a oneness that connects in meaning. Thank you very much. Yes?
I find it really helpful for me to inhale, you know, because when I'm
Curiosity. There's a famous scene from On the Waterfront where I believe the actress's name was Eve Saint Marie, I think. She drops her glove, and Marlon Brando, he's walking with her. He picks up the glove and begins to put it on. The director said that this was not a plan. So what I'm suggesting is that when we really connect into the ground of being, we have access to innovation that's surprising to us, that absolutely connects us in that surprise. So thank you very much. Yes?
Just to echo that, I just came back from a vacation in Savannah, and the last couple of months, I found myself closing myself off to people here.
Mm-hmm.
And what the trip did for me, and it kind of echoes what she said, is I got off the plane and spent a week in an area that I knew no one. And what came out of me and the people I met, and it was from the homeless in the squares to maybe the server in a restaurant to other tourists. And what I brought back with me from that is that just because this is home, what I consider home here in Minneapolis, I brought back with me the fact that I still have that ability to go out and connect with people on all kinds of levels. And I'm hoping I brought that back with me.
That's beautiful, because that's creating a world that we are together. You know, there's so many times you know, it's interesting. I was at the shopping mall the other day, Calhoun Square, and there was a gentleman there that, you know, he was a homeless gentleman, and you could just see how life had been so hard. And I opened the door for him, and then he opened the door for me. There's this moment of connection, of truth. When we have this compassion, we are actually expressing a respect for someone's humanity and how precious that humanity is. So thank you very much. All right? Does anyone, yes? Being mellow enough to understand arrogance. Right. And also to understand that when you're most right, you're most likely going to be wrong. Right? That's one thing. We as human beings don't seem to handle being right very well. So by recognizing that, that, you know, when I feel really justified, it's a good time to slow down. So thank you very much. Anyone else have anything else they'd like to say? So I'm asking you today to really connect, to set it up as a mission in this next week, to connect with being compassionate. Find little ways. Let somebody in on the highway, right? Open the door, let someone come behind you or ahead of you. Let's find a way to connect with making a difference. Okay, I'm going to ring the bell. I'm going to ask you to listen carefully. I'm going to bring my hands into prayer position, and most of all, I'm going to bow to you each, every single one of you, to those that you love. And I'm going to bow to you, connecting with the ability to have compassion for yourself and your life. Namaste.